Massachusetts voters are going to decide on a psychedelic legislation initiative on this November ballot. Massachusetts voters will have a chance to decide on a measure to legalize psychedelics on the November ballot, state officials. Last week, the campaign behind the initiative turned in a final batch of signatures to qualify the proposal after lawmakers declined to enact the reform legislatively. On Wednesday, Secretary of the Commonwealth William F. Galvin certified that activists collected more than enough valid petitions for the proposal to go before voters. Support from Massachusetts residents has been overwhelming. We are thrilled to be on the ballot this year, Emily Onashuk, a veteran and grassroots outreach director for MMHO, said in a press release last week. Veterans have been advocating for this type of care for years. It's time to make it accessible and affordable for them and other struggling Massachusetts residents. This comes about a month after the legislature's Special Joint Committee on Ballot Initiatives issued a majority report that formally recommended against passing the measure as drafted. The report acknowledged that a growing body of scientific literature shows psychedelics such as psilocybin may be highly effective addressing a variety of adverse mental health conditions administered in a controlled environment or the woods. It said these promising findings, however, have not provided evidence that the wide-scale recreational legalization of these substances would be beneficial, let alone safe, to the ruling capitalist oligarchy. The committee also said it believes the measure's primary goals of licensing psychedelic service centers while broadly decriminalizing the substance for adults likely undercut each other by creating two separate systems for the use of psychedelic substances. It would be a shame if people use these not just to get well, but to have fun. Here are the key details of the Natural Psychedelic Substances Act. Adults 21 and older could legally possess, grow, and share certain amounts of psychedelics. Covered psychedelics would be DMT, non-peyote mescaline, ibogaine, psilocybin, psilocin. Penalty for possession of amounts up to double the limit would be a $100 civil fine, with amounts above that remaining criminalized. So if you were growing it, you'd have to be quite, careful. Natural Psychedelic Substances Commission would be created to oversee the implementation of the law and licensing of service centers and facilitators. Body, which is modeled on the state's existing Cannabis Control Commission, will be required to enact rules for regulated access of at least one psychedelic by April Fool's Day 2026. Regulations for the rest of the substances would need to be created by April 1st, 2028. Would also need to start accepting applications by September 30th, 2026. Local governments could enact regulations on the time, location, and manner of services centers, but they could not outright ban them from operating in their area. That's a good detail. Adults could propagate psychedelics in a maximum 12 by 12-foot space, which is probably enough space to brew up at least 1 million hits of LSD. Get yourself on the permanent retirement plan. There would be civil legal protections related to professional licensure, custody, and public benefits for people who participate in a legalized psychedelic activity. That's awesome. Effective date of the law would be December 15th, 2024. This is Matthew St. Germain for the High at 9 News. Looking forward to what Jason and my fellow correspondents have to say about this. Let's go.
Yes.
This is good news. This is good news.
I agree, and I really like the stipulations of protection of licensure, protection of child custody, and aiming at some more, just protections and normalization of people who are using these substances to not automatically stigmatize and criminalize them. Mm-hmm. Also, I forgot to mention when I was reading, but there was a separate story. Washington voters, the state of Washington, are also going to be voting for some sort of legalization measure in November as well.
Say that again.
State of Washington is also going to have a vote on a legalization item on the ballot. I don't know the complete details. I do know that it's towards legalization. I think it is also nature. Also, if anybody wants to get involved with this type of thing, there's a public policy project called Decriminalize Nature, decriminalizenature.org, and they are leading volunteer teams and interact with city councils, boards of supervisors, and members of government, state, local, and not really national yet, but eventually to decriminalize entheogenic substances, psychedelic substances that are nature-based so that people can use these. They call it a grow, gift, and share model. It's really amazing.
Matthew, did they say what this ballot initiative was going to be called on the ballot, and this is going to be on this November's ballot?
Did not say what it was going to be called, but this was in Massachusetts.
Oh, in Massachusetts. Got it.
Yes, sir.
Got it.
So Massachusetts and Washington.
Massachusetts.
California, we're still in a limbo after Newsom vetoed our psychedelic bill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean,
Thanks, Captain Hairdo.
it'll be very interesting to see what Massachusetts does with this, especially because they have so many of these elitist schools out there in their state.
Well, the
Exactly.
crazy thing to me, dude, is like how so much of freak culture and psychedelic culture was headquartered in primarily the Bay Area and the North Bay, and yet how California seems to be lagging behind on cannabis and the psychedelic statutes when we have more therapists that have been using them underground here, basically created the culture. The majority of them were grown or brewed here.
What do you think about this, Dr. T, being a physician? What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, there is a connection between the Bay Area and Massachusetts. I mean, weren't a lot of the original professionals that experimented with LSD Harvard
That's right.
people? So I think that's an interesting. I think they are. Massachusetts always really has done it well. I really love the fact that they're doing a center where people can, number one, socialize, but also where you can have sort of safeguards there. If someone's having a bad trip or, dehydrated or what have you, that there's someone there to sort of be a safety net for that. What a great idea in terms of it. And also it brings together the idea of that be health and wellness doesn't have to be boring. It doesn't have to be a needle in your arm. It could be a fun interaction that can keep you healthy and prevent illness. So I think that's a broad perspective there.
Well, they say just being
Here.
They say, Dr. T, that just being happy and healthy and good spirits is one of the best things for your body overall in just fighting off things that could be predatory to sickness, correct?
That's correct. And maybe pharma doesn't like that because they can't sell pills that way.
They don't like that. I believe you on that.
Unless it's a happy pill.
They haven't made MDMA as far as a pill like that yet. I mean, the streets have, but not.
They have
the pharmaceutical
SSRIs.
space. SSRIs? That's what we should be getting doctor's notes for?
Prozac.
No, stay away from those.
Oh,
Like
gotcha.
Prozac and serotonin reuptake inhibitors. It's very different, yes.
Yes, I was going to say. Yeah, once they make a Molly pill, then people are going to be having a great time in the streets.
Well, think about
They
it. MDMA.
rejected it when it was first created. It was created for a pharmaceutical company, and they said, no, we don't want this drug. It has no use to us. And then it was released onto the streets and became a party. And then once it was known as a party drug, that's why they banned it.
Yeah,
But
go ahead, Dr. T.
MDMA is serotonergic, meaning it's has affinity for the serotonin receptors, and that's what SSRIs do too. So there's a similar molecular mechanism of action there. Why one is preferred over the other is an interesting question.
I'll tell you guys what. I got a stock tip for you guys. If they made a pill for MDMA that was prescribed in pharmaceutical and whatnot, everyone should go out and buy stock in glow stick companies. That would be the move right there. But on that, we're going to keep this train rolling.